Hey everyone, I thought I'd start the stream a little live because quite a few people are joining already and asking a few questions. So I just wanted to touch on a few of these before we get going, and then hopefully give people a few minutes after to join so people are still coming in. So a couple of questions that I've seen pop on. So this one from Karen is that, can we get notes and info afterwards? Yep, this is being recorded. It'll be available again on YouTube. And I'll also put the slides at the end of the session up in the description on YouTube as well, because I don't think it will email links to slides. Some other questions. This isn't really a question, but hello from the UK as well. I'm Mike, I'm from Jetpack, and I'm in Manchester, UK. And another one from Cheshire. I presume that's UK as well. But yeah, I am South Manchester, so similar areas. But yeah, quite a lot of people coming in. A few Vancouvers, New Jersey. Someone, I'm trying to find it now, but somebody said, is this the place to ask questions in the chat? It is, yeah. So as you can see, I can bring up questions to the bottom of the feed when we get going. We'll give it a few more minutes for people to join. Camille has said, what will I share with you today? So it's all going to be about getting to know Jetpack, a little bit of background about Jetpack, a short demo. So it should take probably maybe about half an hour of slides and then a little bit of demo, but each of the slides will touch on areas of Jetpack. So to help me with some of these comments that are coming in, Jeremy from Jetpack is also available. So if you see Jeremy pop up answering some questions, then we can sort of take it there. Or if there's any that I can answer live later, I'll be doing that as well. So I'm leaving time. So give it a couple more minutes for people to join, and then, as I said, we'll be covering some slides. We'll be doing a short demo, and then an ability, just an open question session at the end. So Daniel has asked, I'm brand new to WordPress. I have managed WordPress with GoDaddy and brand new to Jetpack. I hope at the end of this session, you'll have an idea of how to use it and what you might want to use it for. I'm hoping it'll be done in the hour, maybe a little bit sooner. It sort of depends how many questions come through. And again, staying for an hour is fine. It shouldn't overrun. So I'll get started in a couple of minutes. So I think we're getting quite a few people in now. And Anne says I should start the slides. So I think on that basis, I will actually start the slides. So here we go. So I'm bringing up a slide now. I'm going to be looking a little bit at my notes as well as I go through these slides. And if you have any questions along the way, either somebody from Automatic, so Jeremy or somebody else will be able to answer. And there is the ability to, I can star any that I see to answer later as well. So I'll try my best to stay away from the chat a little bit so I can focus on the slides and talk through this. And then we'll jump through to a little bit of a demo where I'll be showing Jetpack on my website and some of the things that you may want to use it for. So diving in, the first question is, what is Jetpack? And Jetpack was launched in 2011 as a plugin. It's been around 13 years now. So it's, one could say, is a bit of a grumpy teenager, but it's developed a lot since the early days. It was initially a plugin to bring the power of WordPress.com hosted websites to self-hosted. So if you were hosting with GoDaddy or other hosts and not on WordPress.com, you could get the same WordPress.com type features that you would get, for example, statistics, traffic stats, image optimizations, just to name a couple. But if you were self-hosted at the time, you wouldn't get those features in core WordPress unless you install Jetpack. And then over time, Jetpack's evolved from a single plugin into a well-known brand, offering a suite of plugins and functionality aimed to give you the best of WordPress, no matter where you decide to host your website. One of the questions that we get asked quite a bit is Jetpack WordPress? Because you may see the mention of WordPress when you get started with Jetpack. So I quite like this little diagram that shows you've got your website on the left is a WordPress website. WordPress.com is a host, so you can host WordPress sites with WordPress.com. And sort of bringing these two together is Jetpack. So to use Jetpack to its full potential, you need what's called a WordPress.com connection. And what this means is it goes back to the early days of it giving you WordPress.com features. So it unlocks cloud-based services such as stats, newsletter subscribers, the AI Assistant, and more. It gives you a central place to manage all of your sites if you run more than one website. And it allows you to offer secure sign-on to your website via people's WordPress.com accounts. So that's quite useful if you signed in for WordPress.com and you see, I can log in using that account. A little bit like signing with Google. And the cloud-based functionality all lives at cloud.jetpack.com. And I'll be giving a bit of a tour about that later. So don't worry about trying to remember everything that I'm saying as I go through these slides. So jumping on to how does Jetpack help you? So there's quite a few questions that came in advance of the webinar, like saying I don't know what Jetpack is, I don't know what it can do for my website. And so I quite like thinking of it in the different stages of website creation. So you may be creating content, whether that's blog posts, pages, videos. You might want to grow your audience. You might want to start making money from your website. And then on the back of all that, you're going to want to protect what you're building so it doesn't, you don't corrupt it, it doesn't crash, and all of these things. So, and at each of these stages, you're going to want to be thinking generally around, I want to protect it, not just at the end stage when you're starting to make money, but from the day one. So you can easily recover things if they go wrong, or be alerted if your site goes down, for example, or if your site becomes infected or at risk of being hacked. Then Jetpack can be there protecting you behind the scenes without you really needing to do much about it. So on each of these areas of the wheel, I'm going to just spend a little bit more time looking at each parts of creating content and what Jetpack can do. So if you want to create content, you've got the AI Assistant, which can help you with content outlines. It can help you change the tone of your content. It can give you feedback on what you've been writing. It can give you title suggestions, which is coming very soon. And it gives you a nice way of sort of giving you a bit of structure if you're creating content or if you're trying to think of ideas. And you can get it to even write certain paragraphs or give you a table of currency conversions, anything that just saves you time when you're creating that content creation. Again, linking into content creation, I've got around Jetpack Search, makes people be able to find what you're producing a lot easier. And again, I'll give you a demo of this. This is a screenshot from my website, and it's very fast search. It can bring up various different things, and if you change what you're searching for, it'll update live. So it's a lot quicker than going away and searching the database and then coming back. The next I'm touching on is sort of being able to create pages with Jetpack. So there's a ton of blocks available in Jetpack, and you can do this. Again, I'll show you in the demo. You can click the little button, type Jetpack, and then there's a bunch of different blocks there that you can use. So you could have business opening hours. You can have an Eventbrite booking link. You can have restaurant reservations, depending on what you're trying to create. There's a lot of blocks available in Jetpack that allows you to go ahead and start building content that way. And then finally, there's Jetpack Video. VideoPress, which again, it lets you upload videos. So I could take this presentation and upload it to the Jetpack website, and it'd be high quality. It'd be advert free. So if you put it on YouTube, you might get adverts, but if you use VideoPress, you can host it on your site, advert free. So that's like a high level overview of what Jetpack can do around content creation. And as I go through these slides, just so you can see roughly how long this is going to take, we're going to moving on. So create content, I've done a very high level overview there. And now looking at tools to potentially grow your audience as you started putting out content. So again, the first one to look at here is Jetpack Social. So if you create a post and you click publish, then you might have to go and start sharing that on Facebook, on Twitter, X now, sharing links on LinkedIn and various different social networks. You can do this through Jetpack Social by connecting those accounts. And then when you publish a post, it'll automatically go out to those networks and help you to grow your audience. The other one to touch on in growing audiences is Jetpack Newsletter, which lets you use your website blog to create a newsletter. So any content that you write, you can choose to send it to your subscribers, similar to the likes of a MailChimp or a ConvertKit. But with Jetpack Newsletter, it's built into your WordPress install. You don't have to pay for the number of subscribers that you've got. And it's all done via this cloud connection as well. So the emails aren't coming from your server, they're coming from the WordPress.com infrastructure. So it's really useful there if you're doing things like that. And then not forgetting, growing your audience is Jetpack CRM, which lets you manage contact relationships, connects to your WooCommerce store, and much more. And we've got a whole webinar covering growing a business with a CRM, which is available on our YouTube channel. And again, I'll be sharing a link to the channel a little bit later. So that's the area of growing audience. And moving now on to the next one, which is about earning and monetizing your content. So Jetpack also has a ton of tools around earning from your content. So you can display ads through a service called Word Ads. So it's a little bit like Google AdSense, but it partners with a lot of different advertising publishers, and you can just run it all through your WordPress website. You can set up donations. So this is an example of if you're creating a website, I can use a Jetpack donation form and create a page a little bit like Buy Me a Coffee. And then people may want to buy me a coffee if they've enjoyed the presentation, if they've enjoyed my content. It's just a nice little addition that you can do there and start accepting donations through Jetpack. And this is quite popular on various different types of websites. We have a lot of examples of cat rescue companies that would be trying to get donations to help keep running their business, or some church foundations where they're getting donations to help keep the church running. There's examples of this being used in cases like that. And then on top of that, you can also earn from content through what we call paid content. So there's different blocks. You can have a website subscribe for this content. So you might be reading a post and you might put some paid content in that post. It might be a premium ebook. It might be like a cheat sheet that you created in a PDF that you want to put behind a paywall. So again, you can do that with these paid content blocks using Jetpack. So again, that's a super high level overview of the earn and monetize. I'll just take a little bit of a side detour to check out if there's been any questions. So here's one from Andrew. He says, are all these separate products or is this all in one? So I'll get to that a little bit later. So there's a lot of features in Jetpack, and then we have the Jetpack plugin, but then there's a number of different individual plugins to let you install just what you need. And there'll be more of those coming out in future. So certain features are still in the main Jetpack plugin, but we've taken certain features out and started releasing those as just a plugin on its own. So you don't need to have everything. Just picking up another one. So this one from Paul says, do we get to determine how much the donation can be, or is it already predefined? So you can adjust what the donations can be in the settings of the block. You can choose to whether you want to just show. So again, if I just jump back to that slide, actually, so you can see, you can see some of you can't see the options, but I can show you on the demo. You can turn off whether you want yearly, whether you want monthly, and just make it a little bit more streamlined. Cheryl said you have to be a non-profit to use the donations feature, and is there a fee? So there is a commission fee through any payments taken. So to use the donations feature, you have to connect your Stripe accounts, and then on the back of that, then it's via like the WordPress.com Stripe Connect, and then any donations that you receive, there'll be the Stripe transaction fee, and then a WordPress.com transaction fee. It varies depending on whether you're using Jetpack for free or whether you've got one of the paid plans. The transaction fee varies between 10% or 2%, depending on what products or plan you're on. Okay, so moving on from earn content and now onto protect. So this is the other area that we touched on. So remember when I mentioned the WordPress.com connection earlier? This gives you an account that you can see your site in the Jetpack Cloud. So this interface will look a little bit different than your WordPress admin dashboard, and that's because it's Jetpack Cloud. So you can protect your website through backups, restore to any point that you need, as well as take a look at your site's activity log and much more. And Jetpack can also notify you if your website goes down. So you can see whether it's inaccessible. You get an email, you can get a text as well, potentially, to say like, your website's unresponsive, whereas your host might be saying everything's okay. Your website might be running quite slowly, and that can be either an indication of host problems, or it could be a plugin on your website running a particular cron job, which means like a regular server job on your site, slowing down your website at a certain time of day. And this type of thing is useful for highlighting anything like that you may want to look at. So again, jumping back because I skipped a couple of slides. So you can look at all your latest backups. You can restore to any of the points in time if you know there's any issues with your website. And because this is all in the cloud, you don't actually need access to your website. So if your website's completely not working, you can't log on to admin, and you can get into Jetpack Cloud and you can see what's going on. And that's a really, really powerful feature of the backup system that we've got. And then Jetpack Scan, again, is another one where it'll make sure that your plugins and themes, that you've got nothing that's been reported of having any vulnerabilities, and it will notify you if there's any issues that need fixing. Another area of Jetpack is Jetpack Akismet Anti-Spam. So this is through the Akismet products that it stops comment and form spam. So if you're creating content and you're getting lots of spammy comments, installing this plugin, which is a separate plugin to the Jetpack plugin, can help stop any of that in the long run. So we've talked about the Jetpack Monitor, and I'll show you how that looks again in the Jetpack Cloud when I get to the demo. But when I touched on the performance piece of if your site's running slowly, Jetpack can let you know. It might say it's intermittently loading slowly, and this is where performance matters. So Jetpack released one of the first plugins, which was standalone to the main Jetpack, all around performance optimization. So you didn't need to install the main Jetpack plugin. You install Jetpack Boost, and then it gives you very easy options to see your site performance and improve your site performance. And this is a screenshot, again, from the demo that I'll be touching on very shortly, just to look at the impact. So you can see the difference between mobile scores and desktop scores. So then you can spend the time looking at what you may need to improve. So, wow, that's a lot of stuff, right? So Jetpack does do a lot, and you might be thinking, why do you need all of these features when you're only just interested in one or two things? And I'm glad that's a question that's come up a lot in the pre-questions. And the main benefit of using Jetpack is that you can use just what you need, whether that's through modules, settings, or even the individual plugins that I touched on before. And you could just choose a plugin which just does one thing, but when it comes to the inevitable time when your website needs more, you'll be hunting around again for another plugin that might do donations. But with Jetpack, you're using a product that's created by Automatic, which is the company behind WordPress.com, and it's supported by real people with hundreds of people helping to build the products, which can bring you the very best of WordPress to your own install. But that being said, we still want to look at areas where you can maybe turn things off that you don't want to use. So just diving quickly into those, you've got recommendations. So when you set up your website, or as you started using your website, under the dashboard, you may see a little notification saying we've got a new recommendation. And this might be things like you've been running a newsletter, you've got 1,000 subscribers. Do you want to start thinking about maybe offering a paid newsletter to your subscribers? There's modules, and again, I'll show you how to get to this later, but this lets you go through and see everything that's active on your Jetpack site, and you can disable things that you don't want, you can activate things that you do want, and it makes it easy to be able to see actually what is Jetpack doing on my site. The settings are really easy to search through, so they're all tabbed into different areas, whether it's security, performance, writing, which is like content creation stuff, sharing was the Jetpack social, discussion is comments, traffic is, I can quickly jump through some of these, and there's a little search icon, and you can just search for the type of thing you're looking for and see whether you want to turn it on, to turn it off. So again, that's quite nice that everything is easily found, even though there is a lot of things that Jetpack can do. And so individual plugins, this probably started with Jetpack CRM, was the first individual plugin that didn't require Jetpack at the time. And then since then, we've built additional plugins to just do the things like you can install just Jetpack Backup, you can install just Jetpack VideoPress if you're only interested in hosting videos. There's Jetpack Social, Jetpack Protect, and then Jetpack Search. So you can just install Jetpack Search and it'll give you that search box that I showed before and which I'll demo in a few minutes. So it makes it a lot more flexible, a lot more easier just to use the features that you need while getting that consistent Jetpack feel. So you know that you're going to use a plugin that's coming from Automatic, that's got a familiar look and feel, and that you just know how to use. And that really gets important as you start getting a bigger website. You want to use products that you can trust, that are well supported, and that are regularly updated. Now, this is another big question that's probably on a lot of people's minds is, what does Jetpack cost? And again, it depends on what you use it for, as there's bundles and products that you can purchase individually. And the value it can provide is priceless. So if you lose your website and can't recover it, you can't log into admin. And if you don't have the Jetpack Cloud area, it could cost you a lot more time going downloading a database backup from your host and trying to rebuild what you've lost. Or if your website's gone down and you don't know about it, it could cost you a lot in lost subscribers. You could have lost revenue if you're running an e-commerce store. And then not to mention the time that can be saved in creating content, coming up with ideas, outlines, and having an AI assistant review your content instead of having to pay somebody or ask what idea. I might ask my mum or my dad to have a look at the content and say, does this make sense? But then as an added incentive, and if you're wondering what the QR code is on the screen, we are running an additional 10% coupon as soon as you reach the checkout. So if you want to take advantage of any of the products today, then scan the code, it'll take you through to the pricing page, and then it won't show up on the pricing page, but the coupon will get applied at checkout. But anyway, that's enough of the selling. So I'm going to switch to a demo, and the QR will be back up on screen as we jump into the questions at the end. And I'll also put up a little banner as I'm going through the demo so you can copy down the actual coupon code to apply on the checkout page if you want to do that. So just a second while I jump over. Okay, so now I've just loaded up a demo site. Again, this is a real website. It's my own little website that I'm sort of run to write about content creation and all the benefits of creating content. And I'm a long-time Jetpack user. I started using Jetpack in 2011. I joined Automatic in 2019, and then I've started working in the Jetpack team to help with just using Jetpack. So I've used it a long time before I even joined Automatic, and this is one of my sites, and I'll jump around and show you some of the areas. So the starting point that you'll see before you connect will be the My Jetpack page. And what this does, it gives you a high level overview of all of the Jetpack products that we spoke about, and it'll give you some key features. So how many views, how many visitors, how many likes from the Jetpack stats. And then some things that you might have done that you might want to undo with Jetpack Backup. And then it lets you install like any of the individual plugins if you've not got them active. So again, Jetpack Protect, Akismet Anti-Spam I've already got. And then it'll show things like my boost speed score. I can my Jetpack Search, which I've got active as well. VideoPress, and like each of these will click through and it'll take you to the specific page all about the product. So I did a bit of a montage at the end in my 2023 year in review where I wanted to host it ad-free because it's on my site. I didn't want adverts popping in of like what happened in 2023. So that's like that My Jetpack area is a good way of bouncing around and seeing like finding out different areas. So again, I'll give you another example on the AI. You can jump in here, you can continue for free, and then you can see a lot of more like information about how you can use AI, how it does one-click features images, how you can do forms, how you can get feedback. And we'll be building these out over time as well, so that you can see what's happening as the product develops. So then jumping over to the dashboard, which is when I mentioned the recommendations area. So you can jump on recommendations and you can see certain things that you may want to enable. So if I enable that one, and then I can see essentially what I've enabled already, because this has been a website that's been running for a while. So real-time backups, malware scanning, spam protection, and then all of these like newsletters, site accelerator, it will link you through to places, either the settings or a place to manage your connections. And then it will tell you some certain things that you may have skipped at the time that you may want to go back to. So this is a useful area of just understanding what you want active on your website. And you can go and you can like modify this afterwards. So if I look at newsletter, I can go on and I can say, I can disable it. So it's easy enough for me to turn that off afterwards. And then there's a number of different settings. So again, diving too deep into any of these will take up the rest of the time of the webinar. So I'm just going to keep going through a few different things. So as I mentioned, with settings, you can just type in anything you like, and it will bring up the areas that we're talking about. So if you're interested in earning, you could type earn, and it will bring up things around earn. So all the things that are available, and you can read more by clicking these little links, which will tell you how to like step-by-step guides. I mentioned I'd have a quick look at Boost as well. So again, Boost shows you your historic data if you've upgraded. If you've not upgraded, then that won't be available. But I find this really useful because I can see there's a difference between desktop and mobile. And then I had a bit of a dip yesterday when I was tinkering around with this. So, and then today it's back up again. So it's interesting to see what all these different things do. And you can take a look at some of the options in a lot more detail. So again, we have information about this on our YouTube channel. There's a few more, like you're diving into a bit more details to see like what is the image guide? How can that improve performance? So again, this would take probably a good chunk of time in itself if I spent just looking at Jetpack Boost. So I wanted to just touch a little bit on, so I mentioned about search. So again, this is the search one. So I'm jumping over to the search screen, and you can see this was what I took a screenshot of. If I wanted to quickly change it to something else like entrepreneurs, then it quickly brings up different things around entrepreneurs. Or if I looked at something like Groove, when Groove got acquired by Awesome Motive, it's a lot easier to search this way. Or SEO, you can see different things where SEO is mentioned, not just in the title, but also in the content itself. And there's a lot of different filters, so it's a lot easier to just go in and type things and see what's happening. So like an easier way to find the year in review, and it's all powered by Jetpack Search. So this is really useful certainly if you've got a big website with a lot of content on. It's nice to just have Jetpack Search to be able to quickly bring things up. Quickly hopping over to the bit where I mentioned about cloud. So again, this is my real cloud for my site. So you've got here where you've got a bunch of you've got latest backups. I can click around, I can look at scan, and I can see I could start a scan of my site now if I was noticing something, and I could run a scan, but it was last run an hour ago and everything's okay. The activity log's really useful. So again, it'll tell me like there's been a backup of 16 plugins, 1 theme, 700 uploads, 11 posts and 10 pages. And then if I can look at the actions, you can restore. To that point, I can view the files or I can download a backup. And then you can see when certain plugins were activated. So activating VideoPress this morning, and it will tell you who did it as well. So if you've noticed something that's changed on your website and it wasn't you that did it, you can head here and you can have a look and see like, oh, I've had a subscriber or something else has happened that I may want to change. And at each point of a backup, you can go back and you can restore, and then you can see what's been going on. So that's really useful. When I mentioned like the speed scores, you may see a dip in like performance on a certain day, and you could track that back to a certain date. You could say, okay, on the 1st of April, sometime between the 1st and the 2nd of April, something happened to my site. So in this case, nothing was found. But if you knew something happened around that time, you can go back and you can filter and see actually what was the cause. Was it a theme update? Was it a plugin update? And how has that impacted? Let me go and change that if that's an issue. Then jumping over to sites. So again, I mentioned about the downtime monitor. And again, if you're running more than one website and you're connecting each site to WordPress.com, then you get to see your sites in this nice little interface in the cloud. And it's quite good for things like, I can see here, I've got 2 plugin updates that I need to do, which are purposely left unupdated for the demo. I can see my performance scores. I can see like what my uptime was over the past few days. And I can do similar on other sites that I might manage as well. So it's a nice, easy place there to go in and just update things. So if I went to plugins, I can see that I've got these 2 plugins and I can update them from here. Or if you wanted to look across all the websites that you've connected, you can go to the plugins, and then you can see that you've got all of these different plugins. It's active on a certain number of sites, whether auto updates on or not. So you can enable auto update, and it's a nice, easier way just to do that instead of logging onto different websites. So I'm hoping people could hear me through that. So again, that's me jumping very high level through all of the bits of Jetpack. So again, back to where we were. So again, yep, that slide is back there. We've done the Jetpack demo, and now we're on to any questions. That's good. I think it was telling me that my screen share audio wasn't coming through, which is fine, because I was looking at the demo. I wasn't seeing what was happening in this little area, but that's good. So there's been 5 questions that have been starred. So this one from Erica says, for email marketing, does this work with or replace something like MailChimp? It's not quite as extensive as MailChimp. So it will send, if you connect the newsletter, it will send your blog posts as a newsletter. So where you insert a little read more line to your site, it will send that. It can send that excerpt with a little button to read more. So at the moment, you can't go in and like create an email like layout in the newsletter, but it won't like fully replace something like MailChimp, but it is useful for things like just keeping updates out. So if you do like a product update, you can choose to only send like a particular post to your subscribers. And that's very similar to something like MailChimp, but things like sequences and the things that like fuller detailed like email marketing software has, it isn't intended to be like that. It's for people that are creating content and want that content to be sent out to their readers and grow that list of people that are interested in their website content, keeping them coming back. Robert's mentioned that he's concerned about managing spam in the comments section. So Akismet moves them into the spam section and then they get cleared out periodically. So if you're running Akismet on your site, it will just keep on top of the comments for you. You can go in and decide to get rid of some if you want to, but generally Akismet will keep on top of that for you. This is an interesting question for Nadine, who says, what would you say is the best plugin? I can't afford all of the plugins, but I might be able to do one or two. We do have a couple of bundles, so we have that will potentially work out a little bit cheaper than if you tried to buy them individually. And I think the best plugin just depends on what your aim is with the website. If you're really focused on having a fast website, you might want to look at Boost. If there's other things that you're interested in, like if you want to create a video like Nadine.tv and have lots of video content on there, then VideoPress is potentially one that you would look at. So it all depends on your use. So Jeremy has been answering questions left, right, and centre. So thank you, Jeremy, for doing that. Again, if there's any particular others, there's a few being starred again. Let me have a look. So Gina has said, are all these features only available from Jetpack within WordPress admin area, or do you have to be on the Jetpack website? So when I jump between two different websites, either your WordPress admin, you'll be able to see a lot of details about like your backups and your Protect. If you install the Protect plugin, it will give you an information about Protect, and Backup will give you information in your WordPress admin. But then if you want, there's certain areas that will then take you out to the Jetpack Cloud, which I presume is what you mean with the Jetpack website, to be able to see and manage things there. Because if it's so like your list of subscribers, it might jump you out to there where you can import more subscribers, you could delete subscribers in the cloud compared to the data on your website. Roberts asked, do I need a separate Jetpack account for each website, or can I combine them using different credit cards? So you only need one WordPress.com account. So that will then give you access to the cloud. You only need one credit card, and you can purchase as many different licenses as you need. So again, if you've got 5 websites, you could purchase using the same account and the same card. And so Jetpack gives you what's called like a user connection as well as a website connection. So it will connect the site, and then you can be the main user, the main owner operating that website. Joshua has asked, how does Jetpack Boost actually accomplish speeding up the website? So magic. No, it does a number of things. So it looks at critical CSS. So what this means is when you load a website, there's what's called above the fold, which you can see on your screen, and then below the fold. And what Boost does with its critical CSS, it will scan the website and look at the elements above the fold on desktop, on mobile, on tablet sizes, and then work out what elements are styled using CSS, and then it will put that critical CSS in line at the top of the theme. So the above the fold content loads a lot faster, and then it will load the rest of your style sheets later down the line. And that's the critical CSS side of things. There's other things like deferring JavaScript to the footer rather than the header. So once it's loading your website, it's not taking a lot of time, like trying to load like various JavaScripts before it starts to load the content. And then other things like cache, it will save a static version of your web page. So it doesn't need to always access the database to load the content from the database if your content doesn't really change. So there's probably a whole video in and of itself about all the performance magic that's done in speeding up the website. This next one from Celeste says, do newsletter subscribers have to have a WordPress.com account? They do. They're created an account on when they subscribe to your site. And the reason for that, is they can then manage their subscriptions similar to you could manage the subscribers. So if I subscribe to your site and I subscribe to Joshua's site and I subscribe to Archie's site, and then I can see it, and I've got my WordPress.com account for all of those subscriptions. I can jump into my WordPress.com/read, I think it is, / subscriptions. And then I can say, okay, for Joshua, I want to receive emails once a week, even if he's publishing content and sending it as a newsletter daily. It will only reach me once a week because I can sort of say I want it daily, I want it weekly, or I want it instantly type of thing. It will give you different roundups, and you can manage all those subscriptions in one place. So they do need a WordPress account, but as they're subscribing, it's created for them as part of the subscription process. So they don't need to go on and do all of the filling in details. It's just a way of managing subscriptions so that person can easily control what communications they receive from all the websites that they'll subscribe to. And Sergey, if I pronounce that right, has said, I'm a photographer. Do you have photo optimization? So there's in the Jetpack Boost, which I touched on. I'll share my screen again, actually. Give me a moment. So just check this is coming through. Okay, cool. Yeah. So if you're using if you're using Jetpack Boost, you've got image CDN, which gives you the ability to adjust the image quality, and the Jetpack CDN will do things there. And then there's also the image optimization behind it. So it automatically resizes your images to an appropriate size. So if you upload a 3 megabyte image, it will actually be served from the WordPress.com servers, but it will be served optimized. So it will be served at the appropriate size for the area of the page that you display it on. And it also converts them to modern, efficient formats, and it serves them from servers closer to where your visitors are accessing your website. So if you were just to have the image uploaded to WordPress Media without this performance enhancement, then it will just get served from your server at the full size, depending on how you lay it out on your page. And a little bit lower down, the image size analysis in Jetpack Boost does give you the ability to see, do you have any issues? So on mine, there's probably a ton of issues where I've uploaded something that's too big. And this will give you ways of seeing, I've uploaded an image here that's probably 10 times bigger than it needs to be. So I can go in and I can edit that. So Caroline has asked, which types of users is Jetpack Bundle designed for? So the Jetpack Complete bundle gives you just everything. So you get access to the CRM Entrepreneur bundle as well with that. And it's just, if you don't know what you need and you just want everything at the best bundle price, then I'd recommend looking at Complete. But if you know you're more interested in, for example, securing your website, you could just get the security bundle, which gives you backup, it gives you the scan, all of the things that we were talking about, but it wouldn't give you the additional things in Complete. So Lauren said, we see consistent issues with mobile speed compared to desktop. My demo site had the same issue. Does Boost get mobile into the green zone? I've not looked into my mobile speed scores ahead of this demo, and I think for me, I was running adverts and that was slowing down the load on mobile. So I've turned those off recently. So that was consistently, they were loading okay on desktop, but mobile was taking a bit of a hit. And I don't know the specifics of that. But that is something that we will take back to the product team there to say, like, is there a guide that we can put together to say, like, how do we get the mobile scores up? Because my demo site's slow, and we've have examples of other people with with mobile sites lower as well. So it's a good question. Thanks for asking that one, and we'll make sure we will follow up on that one. Jason has asked, can I set Jetpack Social to automatically update 10 minutes after the post is posted rather than immediately when the post is posted? And I don't think you can. You can schedule the post like 10 minutes away from now, but there isn't like a lag between the actual sharing of the content and the publishing of the content. They happen at the same time. Celeste again has asked, are there known conflicts Jetpack has with other tools, for example, the Divi theme or certain plugins? So when we do get reported conflicts, we do look to fix them as soon, if it's a Jetpack issue, then we will fix them as soon as we can, either in a point release or in a regular release. And the same goes for themes. There might be cases where it's not something that Jetpack's doing, it's something that the other product's doing. So again, we would direct the person to contact the other products support team as well to go through that. So Julia has asked, how many readers do you need to make money from Jetpack ads? So again, I'll share a link to Word Ads, which is what it runs from, in the chats. But there's not really a straightforward answer to this. So it depends. It depends on like where your traffic's coming from, the type of content that you're writing. Like just like if you're doing content on YouTube, your like earnings per view would depend on like the niche that you're doing the content for, and it's the same when it comes to ads on websites. So it sort of depends. And again, it's more like traffic as opposed to readers. But yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say exactly. It's definitely more than a few hundred. So to start seeing it, you start seeing like small amounts over time, but you do need to have grown your audience before you start seeing like any significant sums coming through the adverts. So just jumping around a bit. So apologies if I pronounce your name wrong. So Herberto has said, in how many web pages can I use Jetpack for free? So you can use Jetpack for free on as many sites as you need to, but there are a number of features like that we've talked about that you do either need to pay to unlock. So for example, the speed history scores in Jetpack Boost, and certain things like the backups, if you need more storage, or like there are different tiers for you to upgrade to. So I'm hoping I pronounced your name correctly there. But yeah, you can use it on as many sites. And like I said, the benefit of using it on a number of sites is you can jump over to the cloud and you can see all those sites and you can update plugins from those areas and just manage, like even if you've got 1 or 2 sites, like my example was my site and my wife's teaching website, that I can see things there, I can update things there without needing to ask my wife to log in and manage her WordPress website, which she definitely doesn't want to do. Cool. I've started, wait a minute, I'm going to show my own comment here, so that when someone asked about the adverts, so there's more details there. If you enable ads in Jetpack, it is going through the Word Ads service, and again, that's useful. And then one thing I forgot to do, which I will put on now, is the banner around the coupon code. So I wanted this to show while I was doing the demo, but I forgot to turn it on. So it's on now for the final few minutes. Again, if you've got any more questions, do ask them in the chat. Do let me know if anything things are coming through. And again, if you need to go, that's totally fine. So Drina's hopping off. So I think we've covered pretty much everything, and I hope the webinar was useful. I will pop a link to the slides again on the YouTube channel. So let me put this back on the stage. I'll remove my face and I'll remove this banner. So again, if you want to connect with Jetpack, we're on Twitter at Jetpack, and then we have a YouTube channel at Jetpack Official. And in there, there's the webinar where I went in detail about Jetpack CRM. That was a couple of years ago now. And then if you want to connect with me personally, then I'm on Twitter as @mikes.wp. And again, I'm happy for anybody to connect and reach out on there. So again, if there's any questions that you have after it, like please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Like we're happy to talk to anybody. There's a few more questions coming in. So Anne said, is it email for support questions? So there is a support forum on the WordPress.org plugins Jetpack support. You can ask your questions on there. And again, if you do, like I said, if you do want to follow me on Twitter, then I'm more than happy to have a chat with anybody that wants to talk more about Jetpack. So Chris has asked, can we email the presentation? I can look at doing that, but I think the easiest way is just to check the YouTube. Again, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, I'm putting out more content there, and I'll link to these. I'll upload these slides and link to these slides in the description there. So Heather, I think I missed this one before, so apologies about that one. So will the Jetpack backup just back up Jetpack elements? This is a tongue twister. Or does it back up my whole website? So it does back up the website. As you saw on my demo a little bit before, it's backing up your plugins, it's backing up your uploads, and it's making sure that you can restore your website. Or again, you might not have seen it, but there's a little copy site button. If you wanted to migrate your site, it's a lot easier. You can just make a copy of your website. Robert's asked, does each plugin have a trial period to check the items out? They don't have a trial period. I think 1 or 2 might do, but generally they all have a first year intro discount, and a lot of the products do. You can use it for free anyway, and then there's certain benefits of upgrading. So like for the newsletter, there's the creator plan, which will reduce the fees down from 10% to 2% for any of your earned features that you're making to your content. But yeah, they don't have trials, but generally you can purchase. If you have any issues, there is a refund window as well if you're not happy with the products. So again, but before you do reach out for refunds, do reach out to either the support team, tweet me on. I'm gonna still say tweet me on Twitter, anything like that. Just let me know, and I can help before we go asking for refunds. So Andrew's asked, do we have a premium service that offers help setting up Jetpack on a website? And I don't believe we do at the moment. And because I like picking names that I know I'm going to struggle to pronounce, so Sergey Kronz has said, thank you very much for a clear explanation and useful information. So I'm glad this webinar has been useful. We are running out of time. And again, thank you everyone for attending. If you've got any questions, do jump on. I've seen another question pop in a couple of times from PJ Skinner. So is Jetpack SEO better than free Yoast? So the different things, so Yoast is a more detailed SEO plugin. Jetpack has some SEO features, but depending on how deep you want to go with SEO, then you may want to install something like Yoast and instead of just using the Jetpack SEO features at the current time. Whether that will change in future, I don't know. I don't know whether Jetpack will develop more SEO features. But personally, I think with the AI, a lot of the SEO is moving towards different types of content, which Jetpack can help you with. So rather than just SEO type stuff. Seeing if there's any more questions. So Anne has asked, can you set up to keep a 6-month backup and you wouldn't need it every day? I'm not entirely sure what you mean. There are different retention periods with backups. So you could say I want to keep this backup for 6 months. But it does generally, the benefit of using Jetpack Backup is if you make changes, it's literally like having an undo button for your website. You can just restore it at any point. If you know you've messed something up, you can be like, let me go and restore that to that point. So it's quite useful in the way it works. It's doing incremental backups, so you can see what's essentially happened and you can just roll back to that point without having to download whole backup files. And again, Julian. So what's my top choice for SEO? I can never decide. I tend to sort of bounce around a few different ones. I do like the simplicity of the Jetpack SEO, just being able to go in and change my title and meta description. But yeah, there's so many different choices with SEO that I think that for me, it's all about being authentic and doing my keyword research, which I use Google Keyword Planner, and then actually writing content that's useful. So not just trying to rely on an SEO plugin. I think having the quality content out there and writing the detail and writing what people are looking for and connecting with different people is a lot more important than just do I use Rank Math? Do I use Yoast? Do I use all-in-one SEO? Do I use Jetpack SEO? I think it just depends on what's easy to get the things that will help you rank. Okay, so only a couple of minutes left. I think quite a number of people have dropped off. I'll just see if there's been a couple more starred questions. I'm just going to see if I answered most of them. So Leroy has said he's just tried the Jetpack AI Assistant to create a new blog post, and it's very impressive. So I also like, if you've written a blog post and you click publish, find the AI Assistant on the side and say, tell me how this post is, give me some feedback. And it's really good at picking up things that you may have missed. So if I did an example where I wrote a post about venturing through space, and it said, well, you've described this character quite well, but maybe spend a little bit more time on the character arc so that it's more of an interesting storytelling piece. So again, it's quite useful if you've already got content, but it's also good at giving you getting you over that writer's block as well. If you're staring at a blank post and you don't know what to write about, then AI can give you that structure. And Lauren said Jetpack seems to be geared more towards individual creators and publishers rather than large organizations. So I think it depends. Again, it depends. Like Jetpack can help even the larger organizations, but there's a lot of large websites that use Jetpack. It's not just small publishers and creators. So I wouldn't say that's entirely accurate. I think it's got a lot of features that can serve people getting started and help them getting on their way to being like a much larger website, and Jetpack can follow you all the way along that way. I think probably this is the final question. So do I need an agency account to manage Jetpack on multiple websites? So Automatic do have an Automatic for Agencies program where you can sign up if you're an agency. And again, you get a little bit more than what I showed you on like the sites area of when you connect to Jetpack. And so there, like if you are an agency that's running like multiple websites, you can sign up for the Automatic for Agencies program. And again, I'll pop a link in the description. I'll say description, I'll post a comment. So again, I'll put it in the description on the YouTube, but there is Automatic for Agencies, which I will show on screen now. But generally, you don't need an agency account to manage sites. Like I've got a couple of personal sites that I do it that way. But there we go. Okay, cool. Thank you everybody for attending the webinar. This will be available on YouTube afterwards, and I'll see you in the next one.